Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson over at the media here, and the war machine keeps on rolling forward as we see news coming out of Ukraine regarding the fact that Trump is mulling sending missile systems to Ukraine. This is against obviously many of the things that he's been saying in the past, but what is new recently under the sun when we have a total push by neocons to promote war and a global war at that. Of course, this latest NATO summit has exposed a lot of that, and everyone is running laps acting like Trump has just saved the world by getting all these countries to put more money into military spending. The same entity, by the way, NATO, which, of course, is going after Russia. Russia, one of the top allies of Iran, which Beijing and Moscow are doubling down on propping up Tehran, threatened to give it nukes. Now, of course, the whole script continues to remain the same. Things don't change overnight like this. This has been 77 years in the making that they've been trying to overthrow Iran. So it's not like suddenly the 7-country plan disappears. But of course, now we see explosions in Iran, apparently targeting nuclear scientists in a high-rise building. That's just breaking now. So it looks like that ceasefire isn't working out very well, as of course we have the U.S. intel community saying that they failed to destroy any of Iran's nuclear sites because, of course, none of this is real. It's all scripted. It's all manufactured to bring in a global conflict. So we need to dig into this and why it matters, as Lindsey Graham calls for further attacks on Iran. Before we do, I urge people to check those links below and get prepared today. Again, in the face of all this, the end goal is the Great Reset. It means food rations. It means the World Economic Forum's agenda of digital IDs, etc. I urge people to go to heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits. There's heirloom seeds, there's water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you will get 5% off as well as free shipping on these items. This is a no-brainer. It's insane. And I mean, it's insane at this point in time. It's not about fear. It's about having solutions to not go and actually have something to back you up, because one of the number one ways they will come at you is regarding food and your dependence on grocery stores. So please stock up today so you don't become dependent on them later. And also make sure to check out whambeef.com for 10 plus year shelf life, freeze-dried steak, 12 servings per bag. There's also freeze-dried chicken and ground beef. Use code WAMBEEF, WAMBEEF, all one word, and you will get 20% off on these items. I highly recommend people get on this today. This is, again, another no-brainer, guaranteed no mRNA, no lab-grown meat, all-American beef that's 100% natural. This is a company that is actually fighting for this so that people can actually have these solutions, and they're constantly under attack because of it. So I urge people to go and support them and support yourself at the same time. And of course, support us if you can. Go getfighting.com, Patreon, Subscribe Star, and subscribe on Rumble and BitChute so that you can keep up to date with us going into the future as we're censored everywhere. So anyway, let's get into this. So the war machine continues to push forward as Trump is mulling sending missile systems to Ukraine. After this recent blow up with NATO and Russia, where we saw Putin's helicopter nearly shot down, a part of the negotiation tactic that Trump is pushing forward is potentially sending missile systems to Ukraine. Now we know Germany is sending massive amounts of arms to Ukraine, and as their chancellor has openly said that they're basically at war with Russia and that they plan to strike Russia themselves. And this was all happening a couple of weeks ago, but of course it got, pushed to the side over the fact that we saw all these things happening in Iran, which I want to get into pretty deep again today, because we've been trying to cover everything every day that changes every day, and we need to be kept up to date on what's the latest. But what we need to understand is both of these things are correlated. They all come to the same conclusion because, of course, we have the manufactured crisis to come. We have the strategic push to shift power from the west to the east. And of course, Germany has been saying for a while that they want to go after Russia. I mean, for a long time, I should say. Angela Merkel, many years ago, we reported in 2016 on her push for the EU army and the push to put military around Russia's border, not to mention the NATO shield that they put in to basically stop Russia from defending themselves. And of course, a massive surveillance network as well. And of course, for years, anyone that dared to criticize this obvious warmongering was called a Russian disinfo agent and was told that they must be working for Russia. And it's so ridiculous, because what we really see here is the overall agenda that was written a long time ago coming to fruition. Of course, what we see with Germany versus Russia is expanding, with the European Union being basically a piece of NATO now, as many have pointed out. It's just become a militarism group, not an economic group. And the economic group was waging war on people enough to begin with, impoverishing people and demoralizing people and pushing civilization into despair, and bringing in the so-called solution, which is further central planning, further control of the population, further surveillance, further restrictions in general. And that's what they call the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, repeat, which is exactly what we're seeing now. France and the UK are heavily involved in this. They're calling for drafts, as we've reported. They are calling for food rations, including mRNA rations for soldiers. And we know where things are going with this. And of course, then comes aid and control the food supply. With the aid, they are already doing this in Gaza, where Israel is controlling the aid programs with facial recognition. The same is to be in the United States and elsewhere when those grocery stores go down by design, as they push this false flag narrative going forward, this idea of sleeper cells and this idea of cyber attacks bringing down grocery chains and destroying the supply chain so that no one has food. All of that is manufactured and so obviously clear, but nonetheless, I'm going to carry on here because we have more militarism now. Trump is pushing more militarism as Ukraine pushes to join the European Union. And he ran as a peace president. Everyone acts like, oh, the ceasefire happened, everything's good and all rosy and sunshine and daisies now. People don't understand that this script was written long ago. It does not matter who the president is. This is all a psychological operation to eventually bring us to the normalization point where we see this war. It's not about fear mongering. They have been planning this for a long time. No one's just going to come in and say, no, this is over. Because, of course, we know they bow to Israel. We know who has been blackmailing politicians for years with people like Epstein and other agents. And what we're seeing with NATO is now, under the guise of like being strong nationalists, they're creating international money to put into militarism. It's so clearly globalism. And by the way, we see this idea of putting all that money together to do what? To go to war with Russia. That's what they want to do. And it's also putting money into the pockets of Palantir, major donor of Trump's campaign, and of course, putting together a database on all Americans right now, and working on that so-called Iron Dome in the United States and the surveillance network in general. And of course, BlackRock and these other companies that are taking over the supply chain. They want to use 5% of every country's GDP increased to the increase of funding of the military in each country, 5% of each country's GDP in NATO to help fund this. It's not about funding, your own, network of nationalist network. It's about every single one putting that money into increasing their military presence. As Germany runs out of ammunition, the UK runs out of ammunition and soldiers as they try to push for drafts. Meanwhile, at the perfect time, Beijing and Moscow double down on propping up Tehran, threatened to give it nukes. Now, Russia already has a massive nuclear program in Iran. And I don't really care about that. It doesn't really matter to me. Because overall, who is the only country in history that has bombed people with nukes? The United States. Who has been the only country to go to war with about 100 countries in 100 years? The United States. How many countries has Iran gone to war with? Excluding this recent strike back on Israel, Iran has been to war with no countries in 200 years. So to claim that they're the danger is the height of hypocrisy. And people will say, oh, but they're Islamic. Who made them Islamic? Who overthrew their government in 1953 and installed your own leader? The United States. Who led to a massive revolution which caused the Ayatollahs to rise up in the Islamic Revolution, and then armed and funded the Ayatollahs? And then who, during Obama and Biden's years, armed and funded the Iranians with nuclear weapons and missiles? the United States, and also who attacked their general, one of the top generals, Soleimani, back in January of 2020, Trump. Look, this all comes together. And again, the end goal is shift power from the West to the East. And a big part of that is because China was propped up all along. I mean, we know that under, Mao Zedong, Kissinger met with Mao Zedong in the early 70s to create an alliance with China to prop them up as a superpower and a monopoly as they were facing starvation at the time due to, communism. And then in comes the Trilateral Commission, Zbigniew Brzezinski and the Rockefellers to prop up China as a guinea pig state for technocracy. Now, fast forward, they are, and Klaus Schwab calls them the role model for the Great Reset. So this is all planned all along, and a part of this Iran thing is to shift into the power structure of China. As we see an explosion reported in Iran as a high-rise building in Iran's upscale Farmanieh District is hit with a missile by the looks of it. And apparently a high-up nuclear scientist lived there. So, I mean, again, it's just, this doesn't just end. It's so crazy that people act like false flags just won't happen now because Trump said we attacked them and now the war is over and we have peace and we have the ceasefire. There's a ceasefire in Gaza as well, between Israel and Gaza, and then Israel kept striking them and killing countless people. There was a peace deal with Syria, which led to a false flag involving chemical attacks with Assad, which Assad did not do. And now look, Al-Qaeda, formerly Al-Nusra Front, now HTS, has taken over Syria with Jolani, a proxy of Mossad. So to think that, all these years, 77 years, is just over because Trump said, I think we're going to have a ceasefire. Okay. And they don't know what the fuck they're doing, he says in an interview. Well, that solves everything. Nobel Peace Prize for you, just like Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize, despite bombing more countries than any president in history. Information Liberation says U.S. intel assessment finds strikes fail to destroy Iran's nuclear sites. See, here we go. It continues. Now, it's funny because this is after the CIA says that they believed Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged. But of course, that is being denied by the U.S. intelligence reports, saying that they're scaling back claims on damage to Iranian nuclear facilities. Because Netanyahu doesn't want peace. Israel doesn't want peace. This will continue because it has been planned as so for a long time. European officials are saying the same thing, saying they have all their nuclear arms still. They literally knew ahead of time, came in and drove out in trucks, according to satellites, days before everything that was in the facilities, whether they have weapons of mass destruction or not, which is very debatable. I mean, Israel made up that claim about Iraq back in 2002, which led to 2 million people dying. But nonetheless, they knew ahead of time. Iran knew ahead of time. The United States knew ahead of time before Iran attacked them. It's all one big script. Trump, Hegseth rejects suggestion Iran moved uranium before U.S. strikes. Nothing was taken out. Then what were all those trucks seen on the satellites, man? What were all those trucks? We saw countless examples of satellite imagery of these trucks moving in 2-3 days before the strikes. But of course, got to save face. Iran's missing uranium stockpile sparks global alarm as IAEA demands answers. Iran's stockpile of nearly 900 pounds of near weapon-grade uranium has disappeared after U.S. and Israeli airstrikes, raising fears it was moved to secret sites. Yeah, this is something that Europe's pushing, that the United States is pushing. European intel says Iran's enriched uranium survived U.S. attacks. Preliminary intelligence reports contradict President Trump's claim that U.S. strikes obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Lindsey Graham seems to agree. He's this absolute piece of trash gigolo of the establishment says, I don't know where the 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium is, but it wasn't part of the target set, Lindsey Graham says. So, and then Spencer Hakimian, I believe, on X says, so what the fuck did you guys actually target then? Look, they want war. It won't end now. This absolute scumbag warmonger, Lindsey Graham, is pushing this still. And Trump listened to the neocons. He did not listen to any of the base that were against war. He's trying to get Thomas Massey kicked out of office for being against war. But as a peace president who put $1 trillion into the military budget, which is the largest amount of money ever put into the military budget in U.S. history, while he's cutting spending, but actually makes up for it with trillions of dollars in other bills as well, and claims he wants peace. It's absolute nonsense. He'll listen to Lindsey Graham, who wants death and destruction throughout the world, to suit his masters, who have probably videos of him having sex with men. I'm just going to put that out there. Or worse. I mean, generally what we saw with Epstein, it was children. But all the while, that's the guy who Trump will support, but will try to get our friend Thomas Massey kicked out of office, who we've had many times on the show, and he's one of the only people I actually like in politics, him and Ron Paul. Zero Hedge says, Bondi says DOJ on high alert over concerns about Iranian sleeper cells. I mean, there's no doubt that there will be a push for false flags. Of course there will be. Of course, it benefits Netanyahu. Netanyahu is a guy who claimed to Trump that Iran tried to kill him, assassinate him, which there's no actual evidence of, but of course, that's what he claimed. And Trump will believe him because he got that golden beeper that could explode at any time, remember? And he has to push his chair in and be his bitch. The idea was that then that led to Trump writing a letter and saying he put a letter in his desk giving orders to obliterate Iran if anything happens to him. Like, so that also gives Israel an open door. And not to mention the USS Nimitz, which is in the region right now, which is set to be retired right away, which a lot of people believe will be blown up because almost every war is started with in the water. Lusitania in World War One. I mean, it could go to Pearl Harbor, World War II, Gulf of Tonkin incident, the attempt with the USS Liberty, the Gulf of Oman incident years ago, which actually led to the killing of Soleimani. I mean, we could go on and on and on. There's so many examples of how these things start in the water. Iran confirms ceasefire, says violations will resort in retaliations, and that was followed up immediately with Israel and Iran commit ceasefire violations. Iran ratifies ending cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog. Again, they'll just say, look, see, they're developing nuclear weapons. And you know what? Beforehand, they were willing, before the strikes by Israel, they said, we'll give up all nuclear powers here if we get a peace deal, and Israel promises to never try to encroach on us. And then a few days later, Israel strikes Iran. Now they're like, we don't want any UN nuclear watchdog around, and they will see retaliation if they continue to come after us. And I believe them. Imagine how many missiles they're building right now in the face of being attacked like that. Netanyahu halts aid to northern Gaza and bid to protect government coalitions. Now, see, we still see this stuff happening in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Yemen, and people are going to turn a blind eye because they just saw what happened with Iran, and that was super scary. So everyone's going to focus on this. Look, what's happening is this is a continued war. It's not against one single country. It's about conflict all over the region. And then they use that as justification. Look, they say, look at all the conflict. We're the only ones that are civilized. No, you are pushing everyone into the Stone Age, forcing Wahhabism in the region, as you have for decades, overthrowing everyone's governments and causing chaos and panic and starvation, and then saying, look, you guys are the only ones that could solve it. I mean, it's demented, it's evil. And of course, as they bring in AI and facial recognition to determine who can have food, while they, by the way, also have AI drones made by Palantir to indiscriminately bomb kids, so basically Skynet, he's halting aid to northern Gaza, and in his bid to protect a government coalition. Israel is weaponizing hunger to erase Palestinian life in Gaza, a UN official stated this week, as malnutrition cases among children rise in the Strip. Truly evil. And then, like, this agreement that Trump has apparently brokered between Israel and Gaza is to end hostilities in Gaza within 2 weeks, but to exile basically everyone in the country, in Palestine, to places like Saudi Arabia and Syria and Egypt and other places, and also cause mass migration to the West, which Netanyahu has bragged about multiple times, that he's proud of the mass migration he's caused to the West. And it will completely annex Palestine. Now they're acting like this will limit this will allow limited Israeli sovereignty in portions of the West Bank. It'll be recognized by the United States. So basically, full colonization. And this is their so-called solution. After they commit the false flag of October 7th, after they cause this crisis in the region, after they kill 100,000 people, most of them underage, ban aid, lie about Hamas hiding in hospitals so that they could blow them up, all the while blowing up Christian areas as well. They just blew up a Christian neighborhood in northern Gaza or in northern Palestine. And they also built the tunnels in the first place and armed and funded Hamas in the first place, as they did ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Mujahideen, Muslim Brotherhood, etc. It's a total push for the Greater Israel Project. It couldn't be more blatant. And this idea that this is a peace deal when you are just displacing everybody from the region, how would you like it if, if you're, say, in Canada and the United States, started attacking you, and the decision by, say, I don't know, Bosnia was to come in from the other side of the world and give all these weapons to the country that's attacking you, and then just let them take it over and force you to go and live in Siberia. Imagine. But no one can imagine, because everyone just extrapolates it and externalizes this issue to, oh, well, this is an issue of theirs and we have nothing to do with it. Your taxpayer money is going towards this. It's truly evil what's happening, and it needs to end. And this idea that this is a peace deal by stealing their land is totally insane. All the while, Netanyahu is asking courts to postpone corruption testimony, citing security pressures, basically, again, showing that he is essentially a dictator. He's been in power forever, whatever power means within the puppets of the shadow government. And Trump is demanding a cancellation of hero Netanyahu's graft trial. U.S. saved Israel. Now it's going to save Bibi. I mean, give me a break. This is absolute bullshit. This guy's a mass murderer. And like, they keep acting like, oh, Trump's against Netanyahu. And it's like, what are you talking about? He's blackmailed. He always has been. He doesn't have power. He's a president. Presidents don't have power. They're puppets, no matter what they say, whatever rhetoric they push, however bombastic they are. The more bombastic, the better, because the more they can use him as a tool of propaganda. While, of course, all of them are owned by Israel. It's very blatant. And Epstein was an agent for Mossad, which he said in his plea deal in 2011, as well as bragged to his girlfriends. And of course, he was not alone. He's one of many. And the amount of blackmail, and not to mention political donations, which are aggressive from AIPAC and etc., tells you everything you need to know. Israel is it's the only country you're not allowed to criticize, or else you're an anti-Semite. You can't say anything about Israel, or else you must be an anti-Semite, they say. How dare I question a government that has murdered 100,000 people? And not to mention, this goes back not since October 7th, since the Nakba. And before that, honestly, with the attempts going back to the 1910s and attempts before that, also in Palestine. It is an absolute plague. It's a blemish on the idea of humanity, what's happening. And by the way, it's all part of an agenda to destroy individualism among society, collapse the system that exists, that is going to die anyway, to shift into the new system, which is far more dangerous. It's technocratic. It's based in digital IDs, social credit, food rations, grid rations, water rations, of course, cyber rations based in, these digital IDs, and with an algorithm that decides what you can or cannot see, and is a total surveillance mechanism utilizing the new network that they're building across the board. As RFK Jr. calls for everyone to wear wearable devices on them in the next 4 years. People have been so fooled by this. And the overall agenda, use false flag cyber attacks, false flag attacks on the grid, false flag attacks on the food supply, or just poison the food supply in general. It's what they are plotting, and the end goal is a total dependence of humanity in a Logan's Run type situation where everyone is essentially eating Soylent Green, doing what they're told, living a life of so-called convenience, because tyranny comes out of the guise of convenience. And as Yuval Noah Harari said, he dreams of a world where people are placated on drugs, playing video games. And with UBI coming in as AI takes over all jobs, and of course a draft which will normalize the AI takeover of the job market anyway, as the economy goes down and they bring in CBDCs and the banks fail and they come in with bail-in regimes and they completely control all your money and your food and everything. then it's pretty obvious where we're going. I mean, and of course, that is a total dependence of humanity. The war at the end of the day isn't between this country and that country. It's a war between the state and humanity, collectivism versus humanity, the independence of the individual, which is why you need to fight back by not sitting on your hands by voting. Because by the way, whenever the double think of saying that you're sitting on your hands if you don't vote, it's the exact opposite. You're literally voting for someone and waiting for them to change things within the state that created the problem in the first place. The way you survive, the way you succeed in life and prevail against this is by actually standing up and for yourself. Start with yourself, then spread that out to your family and your friends, etc., and build community and build up a way for you to sustain yourself when this happens, because eventually it's going to get worse before it gets better, but it will get better eventually. But they're building a Tower of Babel here in this technocratic environment, and they have to finish building before it eventually comes toppling over out of their own arrogance. If you've read the story of the Tower of Babel, you'll see how this reset makes sense, that we're seeing a repeat of history, at least a rhyming of history. And so they're partway finished building this Tower of Babel, but they're not finished yet. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. You prepare yourself. You have something to sustain yourself through these rough times. And then when that tower comes down, you will be much more prevalent. I've said many times before, all roads lead to Rome, and you could have the mainstream road and the mainstream alternative road. They claim it's alternative, but it's not. It still comes over to the same point at the end, and it comes together and it leads you to Rome. Build that bumpy, less convenient, slower road off to the side and relax for a bit with, your own ways to prepare yourself monetarily when it comes to food, when it comes to water, etc. Wait it out a little bit, and then you could build that bright, beautiful new civilization in the aftermath of the Great Reset, which will come to an end eventually. So I like to urge people, as always, to look at the solutions. And we really want people to take, I make like almost nothing off of any of this. I promoted this stuff long before I made any sense, even a cent off of it. But I find it to be important. I lose money by promoting this because I want to make sure that you guys actually have solutions. So I urge people to go and check out heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you'll get 5% off as well as free shipping on these orders. So I urge you to get on this today. Very important going forward. And if you have one bucket, get three. I mean, seriously, get on it so that you are 100% prepared for what's to come. Because if you aren't, then you leave yourself, not just yourself, but your whole family in the dust going forward. And we can't have a situation where everyone becomes dependent, because then you will become compliant. Also look up in our description, whambeef.com for 10+ year shelf life freeze-dried steak. There's freeze-dried chicken and ground beef as well. And use code WAMBEEF, WAMBEEF, all one word, and you will get 20% off on your order. So I highly, highly recommend people get on this today. Guaranteed no mRNA jabs, no lab-grown meat, all American beef that's 100% natural. They're going after the supply chain big time. Be prepared. We have things for health, etc. But we can't promote it in our videos because it'll be taken down on YouTube, which for some reason we're back on. Another reason to go follow us on Rumble and BitChute if you're watching it there. Please don't stick around on YouTube. We were saying for years not to. Please go and follow us in the real places that actually won't take down our channel immediately. But anyway, we have ways to avoid the CBDC system in the description as well. firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ There you can buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium, hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, or put it in an IRA, and schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez and a complimentary investors package. Mark is a good friend of ours. We do many videos with him. You can see our recent video, Fed Warns Recession Ahead, as well on our channel. And of course, we did a video that we reposted on YouTube recently about the Basel III issue where they are bringing in bail-in regimes. So go and check that out. Make sure to let him know when you sign up in the comments of the link that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, W-A-M. It has to be the link that we mentioned, firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. You won't be able to find it from just the main website. You have to use those slashes and dashes and all that stuff. So make sure to check that out below. And of course, find us on, find ways that you can help support us. We truly appreciate any help we can get. We have gogetfunding.com. And thank you so much to those who've donated in the past. We couldn't survive without you. We've lost 90% of our income since January, and we were already bankrupt. So we are, I don't know how I'm paying rent in a couple days. Like, I'm totally screwed because I don't go along with the narratives of any side, left, right, mainstream or alternative. I look at things and I see the truth, and I want to give you guys that because I think it benefits everyone watching. So I urge people to help us and support us if you can. If you check out Patreon or Subscribestar, and you pledge $4.99 a month or more, you'll get exclusive content. We post some videos a day or two before we post them publicly often, so that helps. Of course, we're on X at World Alt Media, where you can subscribe on there for $5 a month for the same exclusive content. We have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. We have a Bitcoin address that you can scan on the screen here or donate through the address that is in the description as well. We have a Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you could donate in if you please, including privacy coins. And we have a Teespring store with a bunch of merchandise that you could help support us by purchasing, including our No War with Iran shirt that we put out in January 2020. Anyway, we can find us on Telegram, Rockfin, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. We're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson. We're on the Bad Guys, TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, where, of course, we're banned. Hit that like button, share it on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. And as always, my friends, live freely, live by example. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.